For decades, the world has wondered what happened to JonBenét Ramsey. Now that technology has advanced, are there going to be some movement in the case? Well, JonBenét's own father has criticized police, and JonBenét's own father, were once looked at as suspects. Her brother Burke might have had something to do with what happened to that girl. That beautiful girl that had her life ended and innocence stolen. This case has fascinated people. People have been obsessed with it. We've had people confess to this crime that didn't even do it. Now, here's one thing. Did you know that when this happened and they couldn't figure out who did it, that 9 months later, a masked man broke into a house 2 miles from the JonBenét Ramsey's home and essayed a little girl. He was masked, but he was chased out by the mother. They never found him. But John Ramsey says the police blew him off. Wouldn't even look into it. Why? Why wouldn't they follow a lead? Well, let's ask one of the investigators herself.
I know who killed JonBenét. There's no doubt in my mind who killed JonBenét. And while this investigation is still ongoing, I don't think it's appropriate that I say that name out loud. A kidnapping, it involves a 6-year-old girl. There was a ransom note, a 2.5-page ransom note, and according to the ransom note, there was going to be a phone call from the author, and they were supposed to call between 8 and 10 a.m. So I was supposed to get to the house for purposes of monitoring the phone call. Cordial.
Cordial?
Mm-hmm.
Upset?
Cordial.
Distraught?
Cordial. It's been my experience that people respond to trauma in different ways. So if someone has a response that is different from mine, I don't put judgment to it, I'll just note it. I remember seeing John in the kitchen, looking through his mail, and I made a note that he was looking at his mail, and then I wondered, where did your mail come from? And I don't speculate. It's a piece of information that I see, it's something that I note. I can say that it stuck out. 10 o'clock comes and goes, and there's no acknowledgement within the house from anyone that the deadline imposed by the author of the ransom note has come and gone. Well, I remember at least 2 calls. Both times I was told everybody's in a meeting, they got your message, and that was it. I felt tremendous pressure. And I see John Ramsey carrying JonBenét up the last 3 steps from the basement. And my mind exploded. Everything that I had noted that morning that stuck out instantly made sense. And JonBenét was clearly dead. Then she's been dead for a while. I ordered him to put JonBenét down. I knelt next to her and I leaned down to her face. And John leaned down opposite me. And his face was just inches from mine. And we had a nonverbal exchange that I will never forget. And he asked if she was dead. And I said, yes, she's dead. And I told him to go back to the room and to dial 911. And as we looked at each other, I remember, and I wore a shoulder holster, tucking my gun right next to me and consciously counting, I've got 18 bullets. I didn't know if we'd all be alive when people showed up. I said everything made sense in that instance. And I knew what happened. There's no doubt in my mind.
To this day?
Never wavered. John Ramsey came back into the living room, and he grabbed a throw that was on the back of a chair, and he says, could you please cover her body? And as he's saying it, he's already put the blanket on top of her. JonBenet's body was in and of itself a crime scene. Would it be nice if John hadn't found JonBenét? Absolutely. And would it be nice if he hadn't put a blanket? Yeah, it would be great. And it would be nice if there were other people to help control and keep people away. That would have been wonderful. But that's not the circumstances that I had available that day. And I heard a wail, just a guttural moan, aching wail from the back area. It's probably one of the most pitiful things I've ever heard, and anguished. And I saw the rest of the people, the Patsy and the pastor and the 4 friends, come from the den towards the living room. So I said, if you want to say goodbye to JonBenét, this is the only time you'll have to do it. And, there's just so much. There's so much pain. And I called 911. I get my radio number, and I said, the kidnapping has turned into a murder. Oh, it became hell. JonBenét was brought up at about 5 minutes after 1. And at 10 after 1, nobody'd shown up. And I looked out the window to the street, and I saw an ambulance slowly drive by. And I thought, I am in the twilight zone. I thought that would be the best way to organize everyone, to keep them distracted, to keep them from touching JonBenét, and to keep them focused on something other than looking at JonBenét. I hadn't seen savagery done to a child or even an adult until I saw that horrific fracture to her head. It was the length of her head. She had trauma to her vagina. It would be trauma that would be consistent with injuries seen in sexual assault. I guess the best way to say that was what was seen was not a first-time injury.
It's this part right here that really gets me, that it wasn't a first-time injury. So this has happened to her before? Tell me your guys' thoughts in the comments. Do you guys think that this was something that was done by someone in her family? Or someone obsessed with JonBenét? Or just a random masked person that did this? And that new docu-series will be dropping tomorrow, and we'll be using that to review from John Ramsey's point of view, as it is. So stay tuned, guys.